In the town of Kafara, where the sun rose over rusted rooftops and set behind tired dreams, people had learned to survive more than they had learned to hope. Among them was a boy named Musa. Musa lived alone in a small, crumbling room at the edge of the market. Each day before school, he carried a stack of newspapers through the busy streets, calling out headlines with a voice far older than his years. He did not sell newspapers because he liked it. He sold them because hunger gave him no choice. One afternoon, the heat was unbearable. The streets shimmered. The air felt heavy, and Musa had not eaten since the previous day. At first, he ignored the pain. Then the pain became weakness. Then the weakness became fear, because he knew, if he didn't eat soon, his body would fail him. He stopped walking. For the first time, Musa allowed himself to consider something he had always resisted: asking. The first house he approached was large and painted brightly. He knocked. A man opened, looked at him briefly, and shook his head. "Nothing for you here," he said, before closing the door. At the second house, a woman didn't even wait for him to speak. "Go and find work," she snapped. Musa almost laughed. If only she knew. By the third house, his courage was fading, but hunger is a stubborn companion. So he walked to one last door, smaller, quieter, almost forgotten at the end of the street. He knocked gently. The door opened. A young girl stood there, perhaps his age. Her name was Aisha. She looked at Musa carefully, not just at his torn clothes or tired face, but at something deeper, something others had ignored. "Can I help you?" she asked softly. Musa hesitated. "Please, I just need something to eat." Aisha said nothing. She turned and went inside. For a moment, Musa wondered if she too would return with rejection. But instead, she came back holding a plate of rice. Warm, steaming. Enough to silence hunger. Musa stared at it as if it were a miracle. He took it slowly, his hands trembling. He ate with quiet urgency, each bite pulling him back from the edge of collapse. But what stayed with him was not just the food. It was the kindness. When he finished, he wiped his mouth and looked up. "I don't have money," he said honestly, "but I can pay you later." Aisha smiled. "You don't need to," she replied. "Someday you'll help someone else. That will be enough." Musa nodded, though he did not fully understand. But he remembered. Years passed, and life moved forward in ways Musa could never have imagined. He studied harder than anyone thought possible. He worked through exhaustion, through doubt, through days when giving up seemed easier. But he didn't, because somewhere in his heart, he carried a quiet promise to become someone who could give, just as he had once received. Eventually, Musa became a doctor. Not just any doctor, the kind people traveled miles to see, the kind who treated not just illness, but people. One evening, as rain fell heavily against the hospital windows, a new patient arrived. A woman, weak and pale, barely conscious. Her condition was serious, complicated, and worse, she had no money. Several doctors had already refused to take her case. Musa picked up her file. Then he paused. Something about her name felt familiar. Aisha. He went to see her immediately. Time had changed her face, but not her presence. There was still something gentle about her, something he could not ignore. She did not recognize him, but Musa recognized her. And in that moment, everything became clear. He took her case, not because it was easy, but because it mattered. For months, Musa worked tirelessly. He stayed late. He sacrificed sleep. He refused to give up, even when the situation seemed impossible. And slowly, she improved. Strength returned. Life returned. The day came when Aisha was ready to leave the hospital, but fear sat quietly in her heart. The bill. She knew it would be too much, far more than she could ever pay. With trembling hands, she opened the envelope. Her eyes moved across the paper, then stopped. At the bottom, written clearly, were the words, "Paid in full," with a plate of rice. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then tears filled her eyes, not from fear, but from recognition. A memory she thought was small had returned as something life-changing. Outside, the rain had stopped. The air felt lighter. And somewhere in the quiet of that evening, a simple truth settled in. Kindness never disappears. It waits, it grows, and one day, it finds its way back. Indeed, a single act of kindness can echo through time. What you give from the heart will always return, greater, deeper, and when it matters most.